Moving on to the next phylum, Mollusca. Mollusca is the second largest phylum in the kingdom Animalia. Molluscans are the soft-bodied animals. And as I said, from the phyla, the Aschelminthes onwards, I don't need to say all like triploblastic, bilaterally symmetrical, organ system level of organization. And from Annelida onwards, all are true coelomates. I mean, the coelomate animals. Taken that points also in the view. Coming to this molluscans phyla, as I said, is the second largest phyla. You can see the diverse habitats. Some are terrestrial and some are aquatic organisms. Maybe it may be marine or it may be the freshwater organisms. As I said, they are soft-bodied animals. Obviously, the soft body is to be protected, and here their soft body is protected by the calcareous shell, meaning calcium carbonate shell, and it gives the protection to that soft bodied animal. And their body is unsegmented. The body is not having any segments like in the phylum Annelida and Arthropoda. No segmentations are seen here in these. The body is divisible into as having the three major parts like head, the anterior head. As we discussed earlier, the head is more distinct when you comparatively if you go on, and it have a ventral muscular foot and the visceral hump. It is on the dorsal side. On the dorsal side, it is a visceral hump. The three regions, head, the muscular foot on the ventral side and the visceral mass on the dorsal side. And this visceral mass or the hump is covered by a soft spongy skin called as mantle. Mantle is a covering of this hump of visceral mass. And the space present between this visceral mass and hump is nothing but this visceral mass and this mantle is called as mantle cavity. The space present between the mantle and this visceral mass or hump is called as mantle cavity. In the mantle cavity, you will come across a feather-like gill. A feather-like gill. You can see in the picture clearly a feather-like gill, and its function is both respiratory and excretory. Even if you talk about this mantle cavity, the alimentary canal opening, the end of this tube, the gut part opens into here, the excretory organs also opens into the mantle cavity. So, moreover, it's respiratory and excretory in function. And moving on to the next point here, in the mouth, in NCERT it's given like in the mouth, but in the buccal cavity of the major molluscans, majority of the molluscans, there is a file-like rasping organ is present called as radula. Radula is helpful for scraping the food, is a rasping organ, file-like rasping organ, the radula. In majority of the molluscans buccal cavity, the radula is present, is one of the characteristic feature. So, what are the special features of the molluscans means having this mantle, having this radula and the calcareous shell. These are some of the unique features of the phylum Mollusca. In the previous picture which I draw, you can see the head contains sensory tentacles. You know the sensory tentacles will sense their surroundings. So, you can see that in that previous picture. Moving on to their reproduction, they are usually dioecious. You know, they are unisexual and oviparous, egg-laying animals, and the development is indirect development. They pass through the larval stages here. And moving on to the examples, the phyla. As it's the second largest phyla, you can see the most diversified, as I said earlier. Phyla is commonly called as apple snail. Pinctada is a pearl oyster, the economically important molluscan, which is Pinctada, where you can extract from these animals the pearls, which are the semi-precious, like pearls which is used in jewelries. And Sepia. Sepia is a cuttlefish. Loligo is a squid. Octopus is a devilfish. Aplysia is a sea hare. Dentalium is a tusk shell. Chaetopleura is a chiton. These are all the examples of this mollusca. So, making this the general, which are the specific features of this molluscan? As I said, is an unsegmented body, and they are with calcareous shell covering the body, and they have a mantle, and they have a radula, the file-like rasping organ. These are the features which we can highlight in the phylum Mollusca, and examples as usual, as we discussed now, the economically important, especially like pearls, and even you talk about some of the molluscan members as used as a edible one, means they'll use as a consume as a food. The next phyla, Echinodermata. Echinos means spiny, derma means skin. They are the spiny skin animals. In order to support the spines present on the skin, they have the ossicles made up of with calcium carbonate. I mean the endoskeleton, the skeleton present inside the body will support the spines present on the surface, and that skeleton present inside is made up of with calcium carbonate, calcareous shell. And very interesting phenomenon here it is, all are marine, exclusively marine. Like Ctenophora members, they are also seen only in the marine waters. And no parasites are represented from this phyla. It is also one of the special feature of the phylum Echinodermata. Moving on to the next one, the speciality here, the larvae exhibits bilateral symmetry, because you know all the triploblastic animals are bilaterally symmetrical. Exemptions you can come across, as we discussed earlier, the adult gastropoda of molluscans exhibit asymmetry, and the adult Echinodermata members exhibit radial symmetry. Larvae are bilaterally symmetrical and adults are radially symmetrical. So, this is to be the point to be remembered. Moving on to the digestive system, they have a complete digestive system they have, and in this complete digestive system, where the mouth is located and where anus is located. Obviously, the mouth is located on the ventral side, I mean towards downwards, and whereas the anus is present on the dorsal side, means upper. Lower is the mouth, upper is the anus. Lower meaning mouth is on ventral side, anus is on the dorsal side. As the animal is moving like this, it can grab the food, it can take the food with the help of its mouth present towards the ventral side, lower side of the body. And coming to the special feature of this Echinodermata members, that is water vascular system or ambulacral system. It is water vascular or ambulacral system. This is the unique feature, the special feature of the phylum Echinodermata. And this system is derived from, formed from the coelom. And as these are true coelomates, the water vascular system is derived from mesoderm. I specified this point several times, saying that mesoderm is responsible for the complexity of organisms. So, here also the mesoderm is responsible in Echinodermata members to form this water vascular or ambulacral system. What for it is? It is for locomotion and for capture and transport of the food, and also for respiration. Obviously, the waste also will be eliminated along with this water, which will be expelled out. And no special excretory system is seen in the members of the phylum Echinodermata. Regarding its reproductive phenomenon, the sexes are separate, means dioecious they are. Coming to the mode of reproduction, they reproduce sexually, sexual mode of reproduction. And fertilization is external fertilization. The gametes will fuse outside the body in the media, in the water. Development is indirect development, and it includes the freely swimming larvae. So, indirect mode of development, external fertilization, and mode of reproduction is sexual. Moving on to the examples, Asterias, starfish. Echinus is a sea urchin. Antedon. Antedon in NCERT book is given as sea lily, but it is a feather star. Antedon is commonly called as a feather star, but in NCERT it's given as a sea lily. And Cucumeria. Cucumeria is a sea cucumber. And Ophiura is a brittle star. Asteria, starfish. Echinus, sea urchin. Antedon, the feather star. Cucumeria, sea cucumber. Ophiura, brittle star. This is about the Echinodermata. The special feature of Echinodermata members are they have spiny skinned animals. The spines are supported by the calcareous ossicles which constitute endoskeleton, and they have water vascular system derived from coelom, means from mesoderm. Larvae is bilaterally symmetrical and adults are radially symmetrical. These are the special features of the members of Echinodermata. The next phyla, Hemichordata. Hemi meaning half. Half chordates. What's the reason naming like this? Actually, this phyla is placed as one of the subphyla under the phylum Chordata, thinking that they too have the notochord. The one with notochord are chordates, you know pretty well about it. So, thinking that they too have the notochord, they are placed as one of the subphylum under the phylum Chordata. Later, the scientists come to know that they are not possessing the, based on which structure they had mistaken. Let me show that first of all. The structure, the rudimentary structure which is developing, which is developed from the, arising from this buccal cavity is called as stomochord or buccal diverticulum. The stomochord or buccal diverticulum, they thought that is a notochord, but later come to know the stomochord is no way similar to the notochord. By knowing this, this is separated from the phylum Chordata and placed as a separate phylum. Previously, it's included as one of the subphyla of the phylum Chordata. This year in NEET 2020, we got this as one of the statement in one of the multiple conceptual question. Okay, fine. Then is a non-chordata phyla. This is why we mentioned is a non-chordata phyla. And hemichordates are exclusively their marine forms these are, and these are worm-like marine animals. So exclusively marine, you come across the Ctenophora members, Echinodermata members, Hemichordata. So far, as of now, you got these three phyla. These are exclusively marine. And the body is divided into the proboscis. Even you can see that picture over there. And the body is divisible into the proboscis. The anterior one is the proboscis. Next is the collar and the long trunk. These are the three body divisions. So, proboscis, the collar and the trunk. The type of circulatory system in this is open type of circulatory system. The respiration is through gills. So, it's a branchial respiration. As they are aquatic, they respire through gills. And moving on to their excretory organ, proboscis gland is the excretory organ of the phylum Hemichordata. And their mode of reproductive activity base is dioecious. Sexes are separate, and the fertilization is external fertilization, and the development includes the larval stage, so it's an indirect development. And coming to the examples, Belanoglossus and Sacoglossus are the examples for this Hemichordata phyla. So you need to focus on the points like the divisions of the body, and it's treated as a chordata member earlier, keeping in the view of the stomochord, similarity with the notochord. They thought that both are same, but later come to know it's different and separated this hemichordata from the phylum Chordata and placed as a separate phyla. These are the best points to be recollect once whenever you go through this hemichordata phyla. The very next phyla, the Chordata, which are called to be the chordates. Already you learned in the previous thing that which are called to be the chordates. A chordata are the animals which possess the fundamental features like notochord. You can see in the picture the notochord, the nerve cord, the pharyngeal gill slits and the post-anal tail. These are the fundamental features of the phylum Chordata. Notochord is located below the nerve cord on the dorsal side. It's a rod-like structure present on the mid-dorsal side of the body, and it is derived from mesoderm. It's a mesodermal derivative. So the animals with notochord are chordates. The animals without notochord are considered as non-chordates. So other than chordates, all the phyla which we discussed as of now, those are all comes under the non-chordata phyla. Okay, coming to the nerve cord. So notochord, you can go with some other aspects like a further thing I'll discuss in the classification of the phylum Chordata. Coming to the nerve cord is also located on the dorsal side, you know. Beneath this nerve cord only the notochord is present over there. The nerve cord is derived from ectoderm. This is the one which develops anteriorly into the brain and posteriorly into the spinal cord. So this is about the nerve cord. And you know well, the nerve cord in the members of chordates is as a single dorsal hollow tubular nerve cord. Again, I'll discuss in the comparison with chordates and non-chordates. As of now, again I'm specifying the points which is very important in the NEET orientation here. The nerve cord of the chordates is located on the dorsal side and is a single and is a hollow and is a tubular nerve cord, is derived from ectoderm. Moving on to pharyngeal gill slits. What are these? The pharynx is laterally perforated by the gill slits. The slits are present which are called to be the gill slits, derived from both ecto and endodermal. And moving on to post-anal tail, the tail is present after the anus, is also seen in the phylum Chordata. So, the animals with all these four fundamental features like notochord, nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits and the post-anal tail, at least in one of their life stage, one of the life stage, we can consider them as a chordates. So without these fundamental features, we are no way going to consider them as a chordata phyla. Apart from this, they also have other features like they have a circulatory system, the well-developed the heart, and other features is as usual we'll discuss in the coming classes of the phylum Chordata. In the NEET orientation, what are the questions is likely to appear in this fundamental features of the Chordata? If you talk about, they can ask you to arrange this fundamental features from dorsal to ventral. If you talk about here, the dorsal side here is the nerve cord, beneath it is the notochord, the pharyngeal gill slits in the gut part, and beneath that you will come across the heart. So in chordata members, the heart is located on the ventral side, whereas in non-chordates, the heart is on the dorsal side. I repeat, arrange these from ventral to dorsal or from dorsal to ventral. As you wish, you can take this any way. From dorsal to ventral is a nerve cord, notochord, pharyngeal gill slits and the muscular heart on the ventral side. So this is the way you can expect the questions from this diagrammatic oriented. Concentrating on the diagrams is also important in the animal kingdom. Sometimes they'll give the diagrams and they can ask you the diagram based questions. Moving on to the comparison between the chordates and the non-chordates, some of the features between them. In chordates, you know, notochord is present, but In non-chordates, notochord is absent. As we said, based on the presence of notochord, they are considered as chordates. Other than chordates without notochord are non-chordates. And moving on to the nerve cord, as I said, nerve cord in chordates is dorsal, single, hollow and is tubular, and moreover it is non-ganglionated, whereas ganglia are not seen on the nerve cord. Whereas if you talk about the non-chordates, the nerve cord is double, ventrally located, and it is solid and it is ganglionated. You can come across the ganglions on this surface, on this nerve cord. And post-anal tail is present in the members of chordates and is not present in the non-chordates. And next, pharyngeal gill slits are present here and pharyngeal gill slits are not present in the members of non-chordata. And heart is ventral in chordata members and is dorsal in the members of non-chordates. So these are some of the features by which we can compare between chordates and non-chordates. Classification of the phylum Chordata. From this topic, one of the question in NEET 2020, some of the statements had given and asked for the incorrect statement on this question. Maybe correct or incorrect, it's a statement-wide question in this classification of phylum Chordata. The phylum Chordata is classified into 3 subphylums based on the presence of notochord, the fundamental character. Moving on to one by one, the Urochordata, the Cephalochordata and the Vertebrata. Euro means tail, Chorda means notochord. As I am specifying that based on what is the basis for the classification of the phylum Chordata, it's notochord. Based on the presence, where it is located and what is its fate, it's classified into 3 subphyla. In Urochordata, the notochord is present in the tail of larval tail actually. It's present in the larval tail. Why I am specifying larval tail? The reason for this is during metamorphosis, the tail is lost in these members. So, though it's taken into the additional phenomenon, the notochord is present in the tail. As I said, all the fundamental features is to be possessed either in any one of its life stage, then only we'll consider them as a chordates. In Urochordata members, as I said, is present in the tail. In the Cephalochordata members, cephalo means head, chorda means notochord. In them, the notochord is present from the head to tail region. As a notochord is present from the head to tail, Cephalochordata. You can see I had specified something over here. The Urochordates and Cephalochordates are called to be the protochordates. The primitive chordates they are. And also called to be the acraniates. They don't have a cranium, no brain box. You know, cranium is a brain box where the brain is lodged. They don't have this cranium, hence they are acraniates. Apart from this, besides, you can also add 2 more terminology for it. Lower chordates or invertebrate chordates. I am specifying the 4 terminology here. The protochordates, the acraniates, the lower chordates or invertebrate chordates. Why it's invertebrate chordates? Let you know. The Urochordate and Cephalochordates are also exclusively marine. As of now, you got the one which are exclusively marine or Ctenophora, Echinodermata, Hemichordata, Urochordata and Cephalochordata. All these are exclusively marine. In the Urochordata member, we also call them as a tunicata. Why? Their body is covered with the cellulose-like material called as tunicin. Cellulose-like material tunicin. Hence the name tunicata. Example for this is Acidia, Salpa and Doliolum. In them also the development is indirect. As I said, one of the previous NEET question, which among the following animals the development is direct? In them Even the Acidia is also given as one of the option. Here in Acidia, the development is indirect, though it's not specifically given in your NCERT book, no statement regarding this, but we specified that is present in the larval tail. I told you the notochord is present in the larval tail. As larva is present, so we can consider them, we can call the development in them is referring as indirect development, here. So development is indirect in them. So in the Urochordata members, the development is indirect. So what is the name of the larva, if you are curious enough? It's a tadpole larva. Like in frog, even in the members of Acidia, you can call them as a tadpole larva. Moving on to the next, the Cephalochordata. Cephalochordata members, as the notochord is present from the head to the tail. And one more thing, I specified it as a typical chordates. Why? All the fundamental characters of the chordates will persist throughout the life. All the four: notochord, nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits, and the post-anal tail. All these four features will persist throughout the life in Cephalochordata members. Hence, they are called as typical chordates. Madam, what it is? It means if you want to study a chordate, what you'll specify. Sometimes they'll ask you the question. If a student is interested to study the fundamental features of chordate, which animal you'll suggest that student to go through? Obviously, it is Cephalochordata member, because all the fundamental characters are seen in them. It's easy to study the fundamental features of the chordata. Example, branchiostoma or amphioxus. Why it is amphioxus or lancelet? Amphi, both, or oxus, sharp. It is sharp on both the ends. Hence, is amphioxus or lancelet is a typical chordate. Moving on to the next subphyla, vertebrata or craniata is a highly evolved chordates. Even man also includes, it comes under the subphyla vertebrata. We call the vertebrata as craniata. Why they called actually the vertebrates? As I said, the basis for the classification is notochord. In the vertebrates, the notochord is replaced by the vertebral column, that's backbone. In them, the notochord is present in the tail, in them is in the head to tail, in them is replaced. In the early stages of the life, they have a notochord. Later, it's replaced by the vertebral column. Hence, they're considered as vertebrates. And all the vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. I repeat, all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. Other than vertebrates, you can call them as invertebrates. But these two are called as invertebrate chordates. As I said, we'll discuss later, let you know what is this invertebrate. Other than vertebrates are invertebrates. But these two are invertebrate chordates. Whatever the phylas which we discussed yet, like up to Hemichordata, from the Porifera, all those are invertebrate phylas. But these specifically we are calling, though they are invertebrates, but they are invertebrate chordates. Vertebrata is also referred as a craniata because of the presence of the brain box, that is cranium. Moving on to the other features of it, apart from this, it also possesses the muscular heart with the chambers and the specified excretory organs. Anyway, we'll discuss in that respective classes and the other taxa. And coming to this vertebrata or craniata is divided into two divisions, Aenata and Gnathostomata. What is Aenata? A stands for absence. Aenata. Nata means jaws. That the jawless vertebrates, under which you'll come across a class called as cyclostomata. And Gnathostomata. In the Gnathostomata members, you can come across, here it is, they have a jawed vertebrates, they have a jaws. Jawless vertebrates, jawed vertebrates. So the basis for classification is jaws. And Gnathostomata is again divided into the two, the Pisces and Tetrapoda, that we'll discuss later. Let me go with the Aenata class cyclostomata.